All right, so now okay, so that's it for our oracles against the nations. We've gone through a circle or a cycle of the oracles against the nations around Judah and Jerusalem. We had one against Jerusalem itself. Before we get to the next major section, though, which starts in chapter 28, we're going to have like a summary statement that kind of sums up, that sums up the message we just got done speaking. Instead of talking about each nation individually now, we're going to kind of give a summary of how God is going to deal with all the people in the world, all the nations of the earth. This is going to go from chapters 24 to 27. So starting in Isaiah 24. See, the Lord is going to lay waste the earth and devastate it. He will ruin its face and scatter its inhabitants. It will be the same for priest as for people, for master as for servant, for mistress as for maid, for seller as for buyer, for borrower as for lender, for debtor as for creditor. The earth will be completely laid waste and totally plundered. The Lord has spoken this word. So no matter what position of life you're in, whether you're high or lowly, male or female, rich or poor, priest or commoner, prophet or layperson, it's going to get you. He's going to get you. The earth dries up and withers. The world languishes and withers. The exalted of the earth languish. The earth is defiled by its people. They have disobeyed the laws, violated the statutes, and broken the everlasting covenant. Therefore a curse consumes the earth. Its people must bear there's always been an idea, its people must bear their guilt. There's always been an idea that the earth itself is corrupted by human sin. We come from the earth. We were made from the earth. When God cursed Adam for his sin, he actually cursed the earth. By doing so, he cursed Adam, who came from the earth. In the days of when Cain killed Abel and hid him in the ground, or wherever he did with him, God said that Abel's blood called out to him from the ground. When the people of the earth became violent in the days of Noah and corrupt, the earth was filled with violence. He was going to cleanse the earth by cleansing it of people. I said before that when they killed the animals for their sacrifices as part of their ceremonies, they would pour the blood of the animal out on the ground. They were returning the life of the animal to the ground from which it came. There's always been a connection. When they went into the land, God told them that the people who were there already had committed so many detestable practices, the land was going to vomit them out. And if the Israelites did the same, which they ended up doing, the land was going to vomit them out too. There's always been an idea that human sin corrupts the earth itself, and the earth itself needs to be cleansed of this sin, of the effects of this sin. That's why, in the end, I don't believe the point of the story. Some people will tell you this, that in the end, as Revelation records, that the earth is going to get burned up and destroyed, and there's going to be a completely new earth afterwards. I don't believe that. That would seem to go against the entire concept of the Old Testament in needing to cleanse the earth, not destroy it. Because the earth itself is corrupted by human sin. Cleansing, eliminating sin will cleanse the earth. It will not destroy the earth. There's no reason to assume the earth itself will be destroyed completely and be gone. Because the entire concept that's taught throughout the Old Testament is that the earth needs to be cleansed of the pollution of sin that affects it. Therefore, earth's inhabitants are burned up. There's the idea of burning right there. And very few are left. Isaiah talks a lot about burning. We've read that before, and we'll continue reading that all the way to the end. There's a lot of fiery judgment in Isaiah. And Isaiah talks about judgment, this is something that, again, we come into the Bible with this, we have had this cultural expectation, this idea taught about hell as being a place of everlasting fire, to the degree that we just accept that. We just assume that's what hell is. There is a concept of hell in the Bible, but it is not a place of everlasting fire. Like, that concept is not taught in the Bible. The concept of unquenchable fire is taught. The idea of a fire that cannot be put out. But the idea of a fire that burns everlastingly is just not in there, okay? It's just not taught. Here in Isaiah, he doesn't teach about an everlasting fire. He does teach about an unquenchable fire, a fire that cannot be put out until it's done burning up whatever it's burning up. But he does not teach the concept of an everlasting fire. All fiery judgment in the Bible ultimately goes back to Sodom and Gomorrah, which set the template for that idea of judgment. And Abraham got up and walked out and saw and looked in that direction the morning after the destruction. And he looked in the direction of Sodom and Gomorrah and saw the smoke rising up. Like that imagery of fiery destruction is what stuck with the Israelites forever after. So whenever they talk about fiery destruction, like that's the image they would all have in their minds, is of Sodom and Gomorrah, which were gone. I mean, completely eliminated, never to be inhabited again. Even to this day, that area where they were is uninhabitable. Okay, it's like that area had been a fertile, lush plain. From that moment onward, and continuing on to this day, 4,000 years later, it's completely uninhabitable. Sodom and Gomorrah was so thoroughly wiped out that we don't even know for certain where they are anymore. We have a couple of sites we think may have been one or the other of them. It's like that, and they were never re-inhabited under any circumstances. Like that is destruction. Like that is fiery destruction. Gone, never to be seen again. So, and in the Bible, as I said before, fire and water are both used as agents of cleansing and destruction. And when you're offering something up to God by fire, you're destroying it. You are removing it from its state as whatever it is and fumigating it up to God. When they put the bulls and the other animals on the altars and burn them up to God, they were destroying them in their state and fumigating them up to God as smoke that he breathed into his nostrils. And if it was done with the right attitude, it was a pleasant, fragrant aroma in his nostrils. If it wasn't done with the right attitude, it was a stench. The idea of burning always results in something being burned up. The fire can't be put out until it is burned up. But the thing that's being burned up does get burned up. There's no concept anywhere in the scriptures of the thing that's being burned never being burned up. It always does get burned up eventually. And it's gone. Like you'll look for it, but you won't find it. It's gone. Like that is the concept of hell as the Bible actually teaches it. There is a fiery destruction, but it does not result in eternal fire. It results in a fire that is unquenchable, that results in this eternal destruction where it's just gone. You don't see it anymore. It's history. And if you look at it from that perspective, once you realize that, once you go back from the Bible and realize this concept of an eternal fire is not actually in there, you'll suddenly realize that you can't find any support for it. You know, we bring that idea to the scriptures because we're just so inundated with it in our culture. Because we added that to the concept, the teaching of Scripture as years went on. But once you kind of remove that from your mind, and you go back and read Scripture from start to finish, and you don't have that thought in there, you realize the Scriptures themselves don't actually teach that. So therefore the earth's inhabitants are burned up, and very few are left. The new wine dries up, and the vine withers. All the merrymakers groan. The gaiety of the tambourines is stilled. The noise of the revelers has stopped. The joyful heart is silent. No longer do they drink wine with a song. The beer is bitter to its drinkers. The ruined city lies desolate. The entrance to every house is barred. In the streets they cry out for wine. All joy turns to gloom. All gaiety is banished from the earth. The city is left in ruins. Its gate is battered to pieces. So will it be on the earth and among the nations, as when an olive tree is beaten, or as when gleanings are left after the grape harvest. You beat an olive tree, and a few olives are left of the tree after you're done. You glean the grape harvest, and a few grapes fall to the ground and are picked up later by somebody else. Hello? It could be. I used to, but I don't think I have any spare ones any longer now. We'll just have to get one. Oh, well, they're very easy. I used to have several, but I don't think I have any left now. Oh, they just wore out and I stopped using them. Okay. Alright. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, they're not hard. You can get them at Walmart. They're not hard to find. Alright then. Bye. They raise their voices, they shout for joy. From the west they acclaim the Lord's majesty. This is a different group of people. We just got done proclaiming the doom and gloom that the people of the earth are going to experience when God comes for them. These are the people who are ready for God. These are the people who are ready for the day of the Lord. For them, the day of the Lord is not a day of gloom and judgment and despair. It's a day of salvation and deliverance. So they raise their voices, they shout for joy. And again, there's no indication of that in the text. You just have to infer that from the context as you read it. There's nothing in the actual text that tells you there's a different group of people being spoken of here, except for the context. They raise their voices, they shout for joy. From the west they acclaim the Lord's majesty. Therefore, in the east give glory to the Lord. Exalt the name of the Lord, the God of Israel, in the islands of the sea. Again, that refers to that idea, the furthermost places that Isaiah could possibly think about. From the ends of the earth we hear singing, glory to the righteous one. But I said, Isaiah had a different response. I waste away, woe to me. The treacherous betray, with treachery the treacherous betray. Terror and pit and snare await you, O people of the earth. Whoever flees at the sound of terror will fall into a pit. Whoever climbs out of the pit will be caught in a snare. Those are hunting traps. Pits and snares are hunting traps. So they're being chased away by the sound of terror, and now they're being hunted by pits and snares. I think Isaiah's lament here, woe is me, is a reference to the pain that will be caused in order for this judgment and deliverance to happen. There is a reason to celebrate for those who are righteous and are waiting for God's deliverance. But it is going to be a painful process. It is not going to be pleasant. The floodgates of the heavens are opened. That goes back to flood terminology. Remember we read about in Genesis 6 and 7, where God opened the windows of heaven to let the floods out, to let those flood waters down? And that goes back to the idea, again, as I said before, the ancients thought that the sky was a solid dome that had windows in it that got opened in order to let the rain through. So there's that imagery again coming back here. Isaiah still thinks that, just like Moses did 800 years earlier. So the floodgates of the heavens are opened. The foundations of the earth shake. There's an idea of the foundations of the earth as well. The earth is on a bunch of mountain foundations. And that's where God opened up in order to let the waters come up from below. Again, that goes back to flood mythology there, flood imagery there. The earth is broken up. The earth is split asunder. The earth is thoroughly shaken. The earth reels like a drunkard. It sways like a hut in the wind. So heavy upon it is the guilt of its rebellion, that it falls, never to rise again. In that day the Lord will punish the powers in the heavens above, and the kings on the earth below. They'll be herded together like prisoners bound in a dungeon. They'll be shut up in prison, and will be punished after many days. Or released, according to the footnote down here. It could be released after many days. The moon will be abashed, the sun ashamed. For the Lord Almighty will reign on Mount Zion and in Jerusalem, and before its elders, gloriously. O Lord, you are my God. I will exalt you. So we're changing this story from destruction, the judgment of God, to exalting God. I will exalt you and praise your name. For in perfect faithfulness you have done marvelous things, things planned long ago. You have made the city a heap of rubble, the fortified town a ruin, the foreigner's stronghold a city no more. never to be rebuilt. I don't think we're talking about any individual city here. It's just God has brought the proud low. He has brought down the high places of man. Whatever city it is, whether it's a merchant city or a military city, a high place, a fortified city, a religious city, whatever it is, God has brought it down. Therefore, strong peoples will honor you. Cities of ruthless nations will revere you. You have been a refuge for the poor, a refuge for the needy in his distress, a shelter from the storm, and a shade from the heat. For the breath of the ruthless is like a storm driving against the wall, and like the heat of the desert. You silence the uproar of foreigners. As heat is reduced by the shadow of a cloud, so the song of this ruthless is stilled. On this mountain the Lord Almighty will prepare a feast of rich food for all peoples, a banquet of aged wine, the best of meats and the finest of wines. On this mountain he will destroy the shroud that enfolds all people. So God is going to do something. He's going to get rid of the haughty. He's going to bring down the mighty. He's going to prepare a feast for the people who trust in him, the people who look to him. He's going to prepare a feast for them. On this mountain he will destroy the shroud that enfolds all peoples, the sheet that covers all nations. He will swallow up death forever. This is probably the most explicit promise yet that we have seen in the Old Testament as we've gone through of God's ultimate plan to conquer death. We haven't really talked about that yet. We have not really brought, that hasn't really been we haven't really talked about it at all. I mean, there's been Elijah and Elisha perform resurrections, and the Song of Solomon, the lover and the beloved, talk about love being as strong as death. Not necessarily stronger than death, but as strong as death. Now we're starting to talk about God actually defeating death. This happens in the context of the nation of Israel about to die. As a people, as a nation, it's about to die. The northern kingdom is about to die for good, with only a few scattered physical survivors going on. The southern kingdom is going to follow behind in about 100 years. And so in order for these promises for God to endure in their culture, in their country, and for God's promises to David, for example, to continue being active even after this destruction, they're going to have to come back from the dead as a national people. So that is why I believe it's around this time that the prophets start introducing the idea of a resurrection or God's power over death. Because as a nation, they are about to die. And so for God's promises to still be active to them, and for God to keep his promises to them and to David, in the future, the nation is going to have to come back from this national death it's about to suffer. Which in turn opens up the idea that God will defeat death on an individual basis for humanity eventually someday. That's why I think we start seeing that idea introduced at this point in the story. The sovereign Lord will wipe away the tears from all faces. It sounds a lot like Revelation, doesn't it? He will remove the disgrace of his people from all the earth. The Lord has spoken. And that day they will say, surely this is our God. We trusted in him, and he saved us. This is the Lord. We trusted in him. Let us rejoice and be glad in his salvation. The hand of the Lord will rest on this mountain, but Moab will be trampled under him, as straw is trampled down the manure. They will spread out their hands in it, as a swimmer spreads out his hands to swim. God will bring down their pride, despite the cleverness of their hands. He will bring down your high fortified walls and lay them low. He will bring them down to the ground, to the very dust. Now Moab is being singled out here, I think, for his pride. There's nothing specific about Moab that could not also apply to any other people, that stand against God. But considering this is the conclusion of this section of prophecies against the nations, I think the reason why Isaiah brings out Moab here is because when we read about Moab in Isaiah 15 and 16, we specifically singled him out for his pride. Let's see here. Isaiah 16, verse 6. We have heard of Moab's pride, her overweening pride and conceit, her pride and her insolence, but her boasts are empty. Therefore the Moabites wail, they wheel together for Moab. So I believe that's why Moab is singled out here in Isaiah 25, verse 10, because we've already made a point of Moab's pride in the previous section. In that day, this song will be sung in the land of Judah. We have a strong city. God makes salvation its walls and ramparts. Open the gates that the righteous nation may enter, the nation that keeps faith. This sounds a lot like Revelation. You will keep its perfect peace. You will keep in perfect peace him whose mind is steady. This is God. You, God, will keep in perfect peace him, the man, whoever, whose mind is steadfast because he trusts in you. Trust in the Lord forever, for the Lord is the rock eternal. He humbles those who dwell on high. He lays the lofty city low. He levels it to the ground and casts it down to the dust. Feet trample it down, the feet of the oppressed, the footsteps of the poor. So those who think they are great will someday be shown to be otherwise. The path of the righteous is level. There's that highway and metaphor again that Isaiah is so fond of. The idea of making paths straight for God's people to come back to him. O upright one, you make the way of the righteous smooth. Yes, Lord, walking in the ways of your laws, we wait for you. Your name and renown, or we wait for your judgments. Your name and renown are the desire of our hearts. My soul yearns for you in the night. In the morning, my spirit longs for you. It sounds like a psalm almost. I guess it is Isaiah's version of a psalm. When your judgments come upon the earth, the people of the world learn righteousness. They may not want to, but they will. Though grace is shown to the wicked, they do not learn righteousness. Even in the land of uprightness, they go on doing evil, and regard not the majesty of the Lord. O Lord, your hand is lifted high, but they do not see it. Let them see your zeal for your people, and be put to shame. Let the fire reserved for your enemies consume them. There's that fire imagery again. Lord, you establish peace for us. All that we have accomplished, you have done for us. We haven't really done anything. We've just been here trusting in you. You've done it all. O Lord our God, other lords beside you have ruled over us, but your name alone do we honor. And he could be referring here to all these nations he just got done listing. He could be referring to all the nations who are going to rule over Israel in the future. You remember how we read in the book of Judges about all those times they were oppressed by the nations around them? Okay, Israel has had a lot of oppressors. They've been ruled by active enemy forces a lot in their history. But your name alone do we honor. They are now dead. They live no more. Those departed spirits do not rise. So God's people will rise. We just read about that a few verses at the end of 25. The death will not swallow them up forever, but these guys are gone. These departed spirits will not rise, according to Isaiah here. You punished them and brought them to ruin. You wiped out all memory of them. You have enlarged the nation, O Lord. You have enlarged the nation. You have gained glory for yourself. You have extended all the borders of the land. Lord, they came to you in their distress. When you disciplined them, they could barely whisper a prayer. As a woman with child and about to give birth, rise and cries out in her pain, so were we in your presence, O Lord. We were with child, we writhed in pain, but we gave birth to wind. When a woman goes through the pain of childbirth, pregnancy and childbirth, for the joy that comes afterwards when a child is born, they went through all this pain and didn't get anything for it. It was all just useless, futile pain for the sake of pain. It benefited them not at all in the end. We have not brought salvation to the earth. We have not given birth to people of the world. I believe that's a reference here to Isaiah, thinking a reference to Israel not being the standard that God wanted them to be, and showing the people of the world around them how to live for God like He wanted them to. Now, Isaiah, back in Isaiah 6, when he first responded to God, when God came to call him to be a prophet, identified himself as an unclean man within the midst of unclean people. So he is not absolving himself of the failure of Israel's responsibility to live up to their clean, pure lives that God wanted them to lead, which were going to be signals and signs to the nations around them to come to God. We read about in Jonah how Jonah did not want to go to Nineveh. He didn't want to preach them. He didn't want those people to hear the message of God. If the Israelites had been more willing to do that, the Assyrians might not have gotten so evil. Okay? And that might have in turn saved the Israelites some despair later on. But your dead will live. Their bodies will rise. That's pretty explicit promise of a resurrection. He may be speaking figuratively here, but this is still the most explicit promise of our future resurrection that we've seen yet in the Scriptures. You who dwell in the dust, wake up and shout for joy. Your dew is like the dew of the morning. The earth will give birth to her dead. Go, my people, enter your rooms and shut the doors behind you. Hide yourselves for a little while until his wrath is passed by. I'm assuming this is talking about the Assyrian invasion of Judah in 701 BC, but I don't know for sure. See, the Lord is coming out of his dwelling to punish the people of the earth for their sins. The earth will disclose the blood shed upon her. She will conceal her slain no longer. In that day, the Lord will punish with his sword, his fierce, great, and powerful sword, Leviathan, the gliding serpent, Leviathan, the coiling serpent. He will slay the monster of the sea. We read about Leviathan back in Job. That's a reference to the myth of the nations around Israel, to the sea monster that God had to deal with when he created the world. Now in Genesis, we don't read about that. God did not have to battle a sea monster in order to make the world. But there is an idea of the forces of chaos that are arranged against God and are fighting against him that God does deal with. And he talks about that in Job at great length at the end of the book of Job. God does have to deal with these forces that are arrayed against him. And he will. He will slay the monster of the sea. And that day, seeing about a fruitful vineyard. This goes back to Isaiah 5 at the end of our prologue statement of Isaiah. We talked about the unfruitful vineyard, the vineyard that the master had planted that ended up bearing bad fruit. It's the same vineyard as Israel, but this time they're going to bear good fruit. I, the Lord, let's go ahead and read Isaiah 5, actually, just to recap that context. In Isaiah 5, this is what happened with the vineyard. Isaiah 5, I will sing for the one I love, a song about his vineyard. My loved one had a vineyard on a fertile hillside. He dug it up and cleaned it, cleared of stones, and planted it with the choicest vines. He built a watchtower in it and cut out a winepress as well. Then he looked for a crop of good grapes, but it yielded only bad fruit. Now the owner is speaking here. Now you dwellers in Jerusalem and men of Judah, judge between me and my vineyard. What more could have been done for my vineyard than what I have done for it? When I looked for good grapes, why did it yield only bad? Now I will tell you what I'm going to do to my vineyard. I will take away its hedge, and it will be destroyed. I will break down its wall, and it will be trampled. I will make it a wasteland, neither pruned nor cultivated, and briars and thorns will grow there. I will command the clouds not to rain on it. And it goes on to say, the vineyard of the Lord Almighty is the house of Judah, or Israel. So now we're going to read this vineyard again, and it's going to be a very different account of the vineyard. Sing about a fruitful vineyard. I, the Lord, watch over it. I water it continually. I guard it day and night so that no one may harm it. I am not angry. If only there were briars and thorns confronting me, I would march against them in battle. I would set them all on fire. Or else, let them come to me for refuge. Let them make peace with me. Yes, let them make peace with me. God wants his enemies to make peace with them. He'll destroy them if they don't. And he will win that fight. God will win that fight. In the end, God will have his day. We're talking about the day of the Lord. The day of the Lord is basically when God has his day. In the end, God will have his day. And those who are against him will lose on that day. If you're going to pick a fight with God, you are going to lose. He'll let you do it. He will let you fight him for a while if you're insistent upon it. But he would rather you make peace with him. In the end, if you insist on not making peace with him, he will fight you, and he will win, and you will lose. In days to come, Jacob will take root. Israel will bud and blossom and fill all the world with fruit. Has the Lord struck her so that vineyard, the unfruitful vineyard of Isaiah 5, has become a very fruitful vineyard in Isaiah 27? Has the Lord struck her as he struck down those who struck her? Has she been killed as those who were killed who killed her? By warfare and exile you contend with her. With his fierce blast he drives her out, as on a day the east wind blows. By this, then, will Jacob's guilt be atoned for. And this will be the full fruitage of the removal of his sin, when he makes all the altar stones to be like chalk stones crushed to pieces. He gets rid of all of his idols and breaks down all of his altars. No Asherah poles or incense altars will be left standing. The fortified city stands desolate, an abandoned settlement, forsaken like the desert. There the calves graze, there they lie down, they strip its branches bare. When its twigs are dry, they are broken off, and women come and make fires with them. For this is a people without understanding, so their Maker has no compassion on them, and their Creator shows them no favor. And that day the Lord will thresh from the flowing Euphrates, or the river, to the Wadi of Egypt, and that's the whole border of Israel, by the way, from the river Euphrates down to the river of Egypt, which is not the Nile. That's the whole border of Israel, the extent of the Promised Land's borders. And you, O Israel, shall be gathered up one by one. And in that day a great trumpet will sound. Those who were perishing in Assyria, and those who were exiled in Egypt, will come and worship the Lord in the holy mountains in Jerusalem. That is the summary of the judgment against the nations from Isaiah 13 to 27. God will have his day. The nations that are arrayed against him, even the Israelites, even those of his own people who are determined to fight against him, will lose on that day. God will have his day, and his enemies will lose, and he will win. And so people who are with him, the people who trust in him, who make peace with him beforehand, will win as well. And they will be taken care of. They will be fruitful in his garden. So that's it for that section of Isaiah. The next section is about a bunch of woes, and we're going to be reading that next. That's Isaiah 28, I think, to 34, and that's what we're going to be reading next.